In most cases, death in horror films is pretty painful. Even just being stabbed in the gut or having your neck snapped can't feel too good. But on some occasions, the killer truly reveals in his murder craft and comes up with entirely too brutal ways to dispatch their victims. Before we begin, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Every new sub helps us achieve our goal and keeps us motivated to create new content. With that being said, I'm your host, Jamie, and here are 10 brutal slasher movie deaths. Number 1. Head in a Hole in a Violent Nature. 2024 Shudder original In a Violent Nature is the surprising slasher gem fans like me have been waiting for. Director Chris Nash and his cinematographer finessed a masterclass in dolly, tracking, and static shots that build harrowing tension. In a Violent Nature opens with a static shot of a broken shed window and a locket dangling from a pole. It's in the woods we hear a voiceover of two men talking off camera about a mass murder that happened. One of them takes a locket. After a shot that lingers on the ground, a large, brooding man unburies himself from that same spot. He lumbers around the area stalking and brutally killing people in the area, searching for the locket. Much of the film is shot from first and third person point of view of the killer. The audience doesn't see the hip face of the killer until near the end. That being said, the killer does eventually adorn a mask in a classic slasher fashion. In a Violent Nature is a creative thread of setups and ruthless kills, but the one that gets the A+ in brutality and ingenuity involves a hook. The masked killing brute punches a woman from behind through her stomach with entrails spilling. He proceeds to hook her head around and pull it through the hole in her stomach while her neck snaps and spine cracks. In a Violent Nature is slow-paced and minimalistic, so it's not for everyone. But the filmmakers go all out on the kills, so I recommend checking it out on Sling, Google Play, Apple TV, Fandango, or Prime. Number 2. Cleaved in Two, Bone Tomahawk. Bone Tomahawk is an intense and taut Western horror film, which is something we don't see enough of, and the film is a great showcase for why we need to see some more. While indigenous people are often portrayed as savages in both the horror and Western genres, Bone Tomahawk's extreme take is a deliberate critique of colonialism, as the indigenous culture is ruthlessly against assimilation. This story follows a group of cowboys led by Kurt Russell's Sheriff Franklin Hunt, who have to rescue their friends from said indigenous tribe. Their customs are viewed as savage, as they are cannibals. The iconic brutal death in Bone Tomahawk involves a character being split in half and eaten. It's not hateful, although it is ruthless and apathetic. These cannibals are simply the top of the food chain and eating their prey. However, what makes the kill unapologetically brutal is its deliberate assault on the senses. The visual of the carnage, combined with the brilliant assortment of bone cracking, muscle tissue tearing, squelches, etc., is horrifically callous. It's available for streaming over on Pluto, Roku, Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, Philo, Google Play, Prime, Apple TV, Fandango, or Redbox. Number 3. Limb Dislocation, The Hitcher. 1986's The Hitcher hits the ground running, or should I say driving. Jim Halsey is delivering a car from Chicago to California. While driving said car down a desolate Texas desert, Jim picks up a hitcher. Things go south quick when the hitcher, who calls himself John Ryder, admits to butchering people. He taunts Jim with a knife, saying he'll do the same to him. Jim fortunately manages to shove John Ryder out of the car. Unfortunately, the hitcher follows him into a small town, steals his wallet, and plants a knife on him. Jim makes friends with a local waitress named Nash, played by the eventual Academy Award-winning actress Jennifer Jason Leigh. Now both Nash and Jim are being stalked by John Ryder and are in trouble with local law enforcement. The Hitcher stands out from its contemporaries by avoiding campy slasher tropes, as well as over-the-top gore. The film is a fairly effective white knuckler. That being said, it did contain a particular death that would put many a slasher to shame. John Ryder has Nash tied by the arms and legs between his truck and a trailer hitch, making the title of the film a disturbing double entendre. I will say I would almost debate this death, only because the camera cuts away once John puts the pedal to the floor. It's a staggeringly ruthless death, nonetheless. Make sure to watch it for yourself over on Max, Hulu, or Prime. Number 4. Hook Dismemberment, A Bay of Blood. Before the likes of Friday the 13th, Italian director Mario Bava released arguably his most influential work, Bay of Blood. If you've seen this recently and are unaware of the context, you may write it off as a Friday the 13th imitator, as it revolves around a killer who stalks and kills their victims, many of them teens, in a wooded area around a lake. There are even multiple deaths that bear startlingly resemblance to one seen in Friday the 13th. They were excellent in both films though. However, this film was released nearly a decade before, in 1971 in Italy, before Jason or his mother even raised a machete on screen, before Halloween or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre even. In 1972, Bay of Blood was released for American audiences under the name Twitch of the Death Nerve. Bay of Blood opens with an old woman being strangled to death by her husband. The nice little twist is her husband is subsequently murdered, and his killer leaves a suicide note posing as the wife. The husband's body disappears. The wife and husband were property owners of the bay, and the whole murder mystery unfolds. Bay of Blood is full of brutal deaths, with surprisingly good effects that even garnered acclaim. There is one particular kill that has attracted the most attention. The reason isn't the gruesomeness of it either. A woman is slashed in the throat with a hooked blade. The death itself is well executed and creative as most of the deaths in the film. However, the reason it is so memorable is after the victim collapses, she writhed on the ground, effectively choking on her own blood. The camera lingers on her as she fades from existence. Make sure to tune in over at Tubi, Plex, Prime, AMC Plus, Sling, Philo, or Roku. Number 5. Twist and Shout, Saw 3. When it comes to the Saw films, insanely brutal deaths have come to define the franchise. So which one do we pick? The unforgettable one from Saw 3 using a trap dubbed The Rack. It's part of a death so consequential that even those who aren't die-hard fans of Saw remember almost as well as a franchise-defining trap, Amanda's reverse bear trap, which she narrowly escapes. This one we do eventually get to see go off in Saw 7. The Rack becomes so influential that it is not only repeatedly referenced in subsequent Saw films, filmmakers have attempted to top it to some degree or another with mixed results. Saw 3 follows Jeff Danlow, a man who has lost his son to a reckless driver in a case of involuntary manslaughter. As sloppy as this film can be, our lead, Jeff, played by Angus McFadden, gives one of the stronger performances in this entire franchise. The audience really does sympathize with him as he moves from trap to trap, being tested by Jigsaw. Each person in the trap is someone Jeff blames for his son's death. The culprit, Timothy Young, got off on all charges. Jigsaw wants Jeff to forgive those he felt wronged him, including Timothy in his final test. And there is a nice payoff to this personal journey. Now back to The Rack. The lethal feat of engineering is a machine fashioned to slowly twist each limb of the victim beyond capacity. It can also include the twisting of the head and neck. This particular victim who is trapped in the rack is Timothy Young, the driver who killed Jeff's son. So this brutal trap is also tied to one of the more emotional cruxes of Saw 3. And in the very heart-wrenching scene, the father does ultimately forgive Timothy, but not in time to save him. The audience sees every twist, every skin rip, every muscle tear, and every bone break. The gore effects for this sequence are brutal, macabre, and flat out incredible. You won't want to miss this, so head over to Peacock, Max, Hulu, Prime, Google Play, Apple TV, or Fandango.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope that you're enjoying all of our content. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to ring that bell icon to stay up to date with our latest releases. If you want to support us even further, there are numerous ways. First, check out fatninja.shop, our very own merch store where we sell t-shirts, hoodies, hats, shoes, and more, featuring our logo and other designs. You can also join our Patreon, linked in the video description. Last but not least, we have officially launched the YouTube membership program. At only $4.99 a month, you'll get access to our monthly newsletter featuring reviews, previews, and exclusive behind-the-scenes information about our upcoming projects and videos. You also get a nifty little badge and special emojis that you can use during our upcoming live stream chats. And if you're a member of our Discord channel, you'll get access to a special role which gives you even better access to the Fat Ninja staff and the chance to enter a monthly prize drawing as well as a shout-out at the end of our videos. The prize drawings will only begin once we have reached our goal of 50 members. Finally, you'll also be gifted a special coupon code good for 20% off any item from our store. We appreciate each and every one of you and are incredibly thankful for your support. Each new subscriber and member helps us achieve our goals and keeps us motivated to create new content each week. Thanks again. Take care.
Number 6. Ice Cold, Jason X. The Friday the 13th franchise may be gloriously campy 80s slasher fun now, but there was a point where Jason Voorhees was king of ruthless, unhinged deaths. Freddy Krueger may have been more creative, but Jason wins alone in sheer quantity. Cut to 2002's Jason X, which takes place in the future and puts Jason on a spaceship. The film was not commercially or critically well received, but it is easily better and more fun than the dreadful Part 8 Jason Takes Manhattan, or the clunky what the fuck story of Jason Goes to Hell. In a post-Scream world, Jason X also features a lot of comedy as well as hot young casts of familiar actors and actresses. More importantly, the film gave us one of the best kills in the entire franchise. And that is an impressive feat given the fact that Jason has sliced 3 people in one fell swoop with a machete. Every Friday the 13th fan already knows which kill I'm gonna mention and can probably vividly picture it. Jason grabs his victim by the hair and shoves her head into liquid nitrogen, which causes the entirety of her face to freeze over within seconds. Then Jason lifts her head out of the liquid nitrogen and proceeds to shatter it on a tabletop. The effects were superb on this kill. The angle, seeing the victims scream as their face and eyes ice up. It is beautifully macabre. Side note, there's also a brief moment during this sequence where Jason removes the victim's head from the liquid nitrogen, notices the iced up face, and is almost unsure what just transpired. But he just rolls with it and gives audiences an S-tier kill in the process. Subject yourself over to this on Google Play, Prime, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 7. Deathgasm, Sleepaway Camp. Sleepaway Camp is one of the better Friday the 13th imitators and most known for its killer twist. The villain is transgender and no one was the wiser until the end. Other than that, it's fairly straightforward slasher. A killer picks off a bunch of teens and counselors one by one at a summer camp. Sleepaway Camp contains plenty of ruthless and unhinged kills, but there is one in particular that stands out for a variety of reasons. Judy, one of the campers, has a hot curling iron shoved into her vagina while she is being suffocated to death with a pillow. The pain would be searing and unfathomable. Even though they don't explicitly show this death, most of it's conveyed through shadows and sound effects. It is nonetheless rough to watch or listen to. You will cringe, shudder, and perhaps even cross your legs like you're holding in the need to urinate. Make sure you watch us over on Tubi, Pluto, Sling, Roku, Fandango, Crackle, Plex, Prime, Fubo, AMC Plus, Philo, Google Play, Apple TV, or Redbox. Number 8. Hammer Time, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is director Tobe Hooper's classic 1970s horror film that reflects the slasher subgenre in its more rudimentary stages. An understated aspect of the film is its cinematography, which came to define the genre in many ways. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre uses lots of wide angles, sometimes coupled with tracking shots, as well as static ones with lots of shadows and jaunted on-screen angles. The cheap 70s film stock gives the Texas Chainsaw Massacre a real gritty aesthetic on top of the cinematography. In 1974, when this film came out, every death would have been absolutely shocking and brutal. It would have doubly unnerved an entire generation that witnessed Vietnam on TV. And not entirely unlike the 1999's Blair Witch Project, it was marketed as based on true events. The particular death in Texas Chainsaw Massacre I will be discussing is Kirk's. What makes it so brutal is it's not only the first on-screen death, but just so abrupt. Leatherface pops out from behind a doorframe and with incredible blunt force, bashes Kirk over the head with a large hammer. What further pushes the brutality of said death is Kirk writhing on the ground. The camera lingers on this with no music, only sound. Kirk is most certainly dying from brain damage while his head is hemorrhaging blood. The audience doesn't see that part and doesn't need to. The shot is static, so the viewer can just soak it all in and try to process it. Make sure to find it streaming over on Tubi, Peacock, Pluto, Roku, Plex, Prime, Google Play, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 9. Aggravated Adolescence. Nightmare. With the popularity of giallo horror in Italy, it's no surprise many of the films on this list include horror films by Italian filmmakers. 1981's Nightmare is directed by Italian director Romano Scavolini. The story goes that a child named George murders his father and is placed in a mental institution. While Nightmare does contain some bloody kills, it's more of an examination of the psychological aspects of a killer and how trauma affects us. Nightmare's weakness is its discordant narrative. George, now grown up, keeps reliving murders in his nightmares, as well as has brief flashbacks suggesting sexual repression and abuse. Unlike films like A Nightmare on Elm Street, the delineation made between the protagonist's past and nightmares is clunky and disorienting. I do understand that it is to some extent a deliberate choice by the filmmakers, which I respect the effort. It isn't always done effectively though. Nightmare also places George's story on the back burner once he escapes the institution as an adult, and focuses on a different set of characters. It does all come together though, regardless. There is plenty of gore as well as jarring murders in Nightmare. The one that leaves your jaw dropped is the full reveal involving the murder of George's father. George is shown explicitly butchering his father with an axe after witnessing him engaging in infidelity and sadomasochistic sex. What's clever about this death is that we've seen various parts of it via flashbacks, but now the audience sees the whole bloody picture clearly. It both serves as shock value and a reveal, which I appreciate. You can watch it over on Plex, Sling, Roku, Prime, or Google Play. Number 10, Eye-Popping, The New York Ripper. A killer who talks like Donald Duck targets sexually active women in New York City. That is part of the summation that Shudder gives to 1982's The New York Ripper. Despite being from the 80s, its entire production design gives 70s and even 60s vibes. The director, Lucio Fulci, was also an Italian giallo filmmaker. And much like one of his more famous contemporaries, Dario Argento, Fulci also uses signature explicit gore and a sharp, vivid color palette. The New York Ripper kicks off with the murder of a woman in a parked car as she's sliced from stomach to sternum. And that's not even the brutal death I'm here to discuss. The bright red Kingston gore really removes a level of authenticity from that kill anyway. However, there is a victim who gets their eye sliced through by a razor blade. Fulci gives us explicit close-up of that. The eye bursting with blood and juices is enough to make anyone wince in horrific glee. Check it out for yourself over on Tubi, Pluto, Prime, Google Play, or Apple TV. Thanks for checking out the video. Did we leave any films off the list? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to tap that bell icon to stay up to date with our latest releases. You can reach out to us on Twitter or X at StudiosFat, or chat with us on Discord, linked below. If you're really enjoying our content and want to help support us, click that join button for exclusive content, rewards, and perks. Make sure to check out our very own merch store located at fatninja.shop. All proceeds go towards our next film project, so we'd greatly appreciate it. I've been your host, Jamie. Thanks again. See you in the next one.